Hey everyone, me Kevin here. Here's just the latest and a quick midday update on what is going on, what Joe Biden just said at his speech, and what is the plan for Congress. Let's do a quick run through this. Joe Biden just gave a speech talking about foreign affairs that just ended a couple minutes ago, and how important it is that the Defense Department cooperate with his transition because we need to focus on cybersecurity and military strength. Basically, Biden spent a good amount of time talking about how it's going to take time to rebuild what Donald Trump messed up, in so many words, and Biden promises to get started with that fixing or that repairing on day one, but he says, look, it's not as simple as just flicking a switch. There is a lot of work to do. Now, that's just a quick summary of what Biden's speech was, but for now, let's go ahead and talk about Congress. What the heck is going on with stimulus? Biden did not take any questions today. He didn't take questions. He didn't talk about stimulus. All he did was make a statement about the defense, foreign affairs. He did make a statement regarding the Christmas bombing and applauded the heroic effort of the officers who responded. But beyond that, we didn't get any other information from Biden. Now, let's get to talking about what's going on in the House over the next few hours. Just a quick reminder, get your 4 free stocks. Apparently, they're ending that promotion at the end of this year. So 4 free stocks when you deposit $100, you will get 4 free stocks worth between $21 and $1,600. Link down below next to the link for life insurance you can get in as little as 5 minutes. All right, so the House begins to debate at 4 p.m. on 2 large issues, with voting scheduled for 5 p.m. Eastern Time. This means within the next few hours, we will know whether or not the House of Representatives has passed the $2,000 stimulus check bill called the Cash Act of 2020. Now, I'm going to talk about some very important things to keep an eye on here, but I figure before we do, why don't we just quickly take a look at the bill? You might not have seen it yet, and I'll also show you how much it's going to cost, because that estimate was just released. All right, so this is the actual bill. This particular bill serves as an amendment. So this will amend the rebate amounts of $2,000. And you'll see the way they're doing this, as they say here, be it enacted that this act may be cited the Caring for Americans with a Supplemental Help Act of 2020, aka the Cash Act of 2020 is what they're calling it. And the actual text of the legislation says, recovery rebates amounts increased. In general, Section 6248A of the IRC of 1986 as added by Section 272 of the COVID-related Tax Relief Act of 2020 is hereby amended. Basically, the last stimulus bill that we passed is amended by striking the $600 in place it appears and inserting $2,000, and by striking $1,200 in place where it appears and inserting $4,000. Now, what's very interesting about this, and this is not something that I thought they were going to do. I thought this was just going to be $2,000 stimulus checks for adults, and I'm kind of going to stick with the idea that it's probably still $2,000 stimulus checks for adults, but this is a little weird because look at this. This is Section 272 of the Act of the COVID relief bill that they passed. See? Section 272, additional 2020 recovery rebates for individuals. In general, subsection B of Chapter 65, blah, 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 is amended by inserting the following. Additional recovery rebates. In general, okay, we've got this amendment here equal to the sum of $600 or $1,200 in case of an individual filing jointly, plus an amount equal to the product of $600 multiplied by the number of qualifying children. So basically, this here says, hey, you get $600 stimulus checks, $1,200 if you're a couple, and you get $600 if you're a dependent. The Cash Act here says that this particular section, 6428A, so let's go back to that. Here it is. So this says 6428A, so it's the same section right there, A of the IRC, as amended by Section 272 of the COVID Relief Act, which is right here, Section 272. We see that heading right here, okay? By striking $600 each place it appears and inserting $2,000. And by striking $1,200 in each place it appears and by putting in $4,000. I don't know, to me, it kind of seems like they're going for $2,000 per adult and per dependent with this with this modification here. Effective date, the amendments made to this section are contingent upon the enactment of the COVID relief package. We got that. Budgetary effects to be determined. We did get the budgetary effects. They are right here. Oh, look at this. To replace $600 recovery rebates with $2,000 for single, $4,000 for married filing jointly, expanded recipients to include dependents in addition to qualifying children, both for the purposes of proposed $2,000 amount. Oh, there it is. Of the initial $500. Wow. Okay, never mind. There's our confirmation. So this Cash Act is actually asking for $2,000 for adults and $2,000 for dependents. Wow. And the expectation is that this is going to cost $463,806 billion. That is the, per at least the Joint Committee on Taxation, which you can see sort of the heading over here. So that's actually interesting. That's really surprising. I thought they were going to leave the $600 for dependents, but they're going for 2 and 2. So $2,000 for dependents, $2,000 for adults. Keep in mind, if this passes the House, which we expect it will, then it still has to get through the Senate. We're going to talk about those next steps in the moment and the key issue to pay attention to. But do keep in mind that it's likely the $600 stimulus checks are still going to get processed. And if this passes, then we would have to get sort of a second round of a payment that'll get distributed. My assumption is the same way as the first one, so we'll see. Now, here's the key issue to pay attention to. You got to pay attention to how many Republicans vote for this. We expect to get almost all dependents, or all Democrats, not dependents. We expect to get almost all the Democrats to vote for this, but the key is, if we get more than 50% of Republicans to go for this, I think we have a good shot at seeing the $2,000 stimulus checks pass the Senate. And this is just referring to the House here, but I think gauging the House and getting a feel of what the Republican House looks like might give us a little bit of a heads up in terms of what the Republican Senate is going to feel like. You know, if you get a lot of Republican support for this, Mitch McConnell might feel obligated to bring this check to the floor or this bill to the floor, because otherwise his party's going to be divided. Now, if almost no Republicans go for this $2,000 Cash Act, that's not going to look good for Mitch. I mean, then Mitch would basically be bringing something to the floor that Republicans just don't inherently agree with. So this vote is actually a crucial barometer to see how much Republican support we really have. So when you hear what the vote is, once this passes, you want the nays, and I might do a live stream, so stay tuned. You want the nays to really be less than 50. Certainly less than 100. Like, if you have more than 100 nays from Republicans, that's bad. That's not a good sign for this at all. Ideally, you get less than 50 no votes on this bill in total. The smaller number, the better. And no guarantees, but to me, it's going to be a tell, and it's going to be a pressure point for McConnell. If we get over 100 nay votes from Republicans, I think Mitch McConnell's going to say, let's just wait until Georgia, the January 5th runoff election, to see who controls the Senate. Alternatively, you know, if Republicans are like, no, we want to do this, and there's heavy support for this, that could be good, and we might actually see something before the Georgia election regarding this $2,000. After all, this bill will expire, even if the House passes it here. This bill will expire on January 3rd, well, the evening between January 3rd and January 4th, and that is because a new session of Congress begins. Now, I do imagine that it's going to be very easy for the House to just pass this bill again if they needed to. Maybe they'll just change the date to, I don't know, 2021, the Cash Act of 2021 instead of 2020. But the most important thing that we care about right here is pretty simple. How much Republican support is there for $2,000 to adults and $2,000 for children? That's what the most important, consideration right now is. Now, the other thing is the House will also be voting on the NDAA, the National Defense Authorization Act. It was vetoed by Donald Trump. The House will be voting to overturn this. We expect that the House will overturn this, but that's just as good as what happened with the impeachment, aka it means nothing until the Senate actually votes on it. This is a $740 billion military spending bill, with money going for tanks, weapons, jets, space defense, and much more. The House is expected to overturn this. However, very, very similar to $2,000 checks, we need to see how much Republican resistance there is. Keep in mind that Donald Trump, he issued a statement as well, saying that, more money would be coming. In fact, what we could do is we can jump on over really quickly to his statement. And interestingly, in his statement, this was yesterday when he signed the COVID relief bill, he mentioned down here, as president, I have told Congress that I want far less wasteful spending and more money going to American people in the form of $2,000 stimulus checks per adult and $600 per child. Like, whoever wrote this press statement for Donald Trump is either confused or the White House is confused, because it was just Donald Trump on Saturday that said he wanted $2,000 per adult and $2,000 per child. Then on Sunday, we get this letter that says, no, it's $2,000 per adult and $600 per child. But the Cash Act that they're voting on in the House is $2,000 and $2,000. it's just disaster. That's all I could say is it's a disaster. Now, Donald Trump does mention that he wants to rescind, wasteful spending. That's not going to go anywhere. It's just going to basically be a proposal from Trump. And then, of course, we've got here that additionally, Congress has promised that Section 230, which unfairly benefits big tech at the expense of the American people, will be reviewed and either be terminated or substantially reformed. So obviously, Section 230 is something that could come up as a potential roadblock to these stimulus checks going through. We'll see. The White House right now is saying the Senate will start the process for a vote that increases checks to $2,000, repeals Section 230, and starts an investigation into voter fraud. Yellow here, not a big deal. Green is a big issue. Red, maybe. We'll see if Mitch McConnell goes for this. I really think it's all going to come down to how that vote breakout works in the House in terms of what kind of pressure we're going to actually expect for Mitch McConnell. Keep in mind, we already have the political bickering happening again. This is the House Republicans' Twitter. Speaker Pelosi shamefully spent months putting her own political priorities and her party's far-left agenda before the country's best interest. Democrats played politics while the American people were left waiting. Obviously, Democrats say exactly the opposite, so it's not a surprise here. Here's a senator who says that today members of Congress will have a chance to show their commitment to U.S. troops and working families with action, not just talk. I urge the U.S. House of Representatives to vote to override Trump's reckless NDAA veto. Those are big words here, and approve the larger direct payments of $2,000 for Americans. This is obviously a Democrat. Kamala Harris mentions, hey, wear a mask because California is having problems. Bernie Sanders says, finally, now Trump must get Mitch McConnell and his Republican friends in the Senate to pass legislation to provide $2,000 in direct payments to the working class. Legislation I introduced with Kamala Harris and Senator Markey 7 months ago. This is also true. Here's just a little heat map that I thought was very interesting from Johns Hopkins. Mostly this is because it relates to me. This is the epicenter of the COVID-19 pandemic now. Los Angeles is now the most infected county of the most infected state in the most infected country in the world. That makes me feel great, given that I'm like 40